Looking to up your privacy and security game while you travel? Then you need to check out Silent Pocket's patented product line of Faraday bags, wallets, backpacks, and other accessories at silentpocket.com. Be sure to use discount code SHAREDSECURITY at checkout to receive 15% off your order. The music. It worked.
Do it.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Shared Security Podcast with Tom Eston and Scott Wright.
That's us.
Exploring the trust you put in people, apps, and technology.
And we're here. All right. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Shared Security Podcast. This is episode 92, I believe. 92 of the monthly show. And it is
What's
monthly.
that in dog years?
Dog years. I don't know. Cat years, dog years. It's a long time.
Oh, man. It has been a long time, but it's been a good time.
But we did it. So.
And it's just Tom and I today.
Yes. We don't have any illustrious guests, unfortunately. Kevin and Jason actually attended our last monthly show, which was the 10-year anniversary, by the way.
Did it get censored off of YouTube by any chance? Or?
No, it didn't. No, I did not mark it as explicit, even though maybe I should have.
Yeah.
It was a good show.
We had some contentious discussion. You should go back and watch it if you haven't yet.
We did have some very good dialogue. Actually, and while it did get heated, it was a very heated debate. It was a very important topic, right? Security awareness, training, those types of things.
Training, and has security improved?
In the last 10 years?
Yeah. Are we any better off? I think was the key question.
Yeah, it was.
So you should go back and watch it.
You should. I agree. And speaking of shows, I've done a few really good interviews lately. I highly recommend our listeners check that out. The first one I just finished actually will be released this Friday, but by the time this show is released, it'll already be published. I did a episode with Silent Pocket, our sponsor of the show, Aaron Czar, who is the CEO of the company. And we talked a lot about his take on digital privacy, talked about how he got into the privacy business of selling privacy-focused products, which was really cool. And highly recommend everybody check it out. Aaron's a great guy. He's somebody that just really gets privacy, and he understands the need for the products that they sell, and why privacy is just so important to everybody, especially in this day and age.
Yeah, for sure. Excellent.
Yeah. And then the other episode I'd tout a little bit was we interviewed Max Krohn, who is the CEO of Keybase.io. So if you're not familiar with Keybase.io, they are a competitor to Slack. So most people, I think, in the business world know Slack as kind of like the most popular kind of business chat that's out there besides like Skype. I think Skype for Business would be the other one. It was just a really good episode. We talked about encryption, end-to-end encryption. So if that's something that you want to learn more about, definitely check out that episode as well.
Very cool. I'm going to be waiting with bated breath to watch that one.
Yeah. And
should we switch from Slack?
Oh, are you using Slack?
Yeah, we are.
Do you like it?
Actually, I mean, it's pretty much embedded in our culture, right? Which is kind of funny how fast that happens.
Yeah.
With a young team too. I mean, everybody's very comfortable with it. So even a couple of the old guys are not too bad with it.
Yeah. I like it because I was an old school IRC user back in the day. And so it was very, it feels a lot like IRC. So, but that's just for old people like me. But and then last thing just want to cover was the Facebook privacy and security guide, which is available on sharedsecurity.net. So this is something that we had for many years, going way back to 2009. I had not done it for several years, actually gave the ownership of that kind of a little mini project to the consulting company that I was working for at the time. That consulting company was bought and sold. And so then I just decided to revise it and bring it back to life. So
poor Tom has to update it every time Facebook changes the user interface for settings.
Yeah. And speaking of that, we did update it. It is currently up to date with the current settings that Facebook has for privacy and security. So it is up to date, but you can check that out at sharedsecurity.net.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very good guide.
And speaking of that, I did want to just play a little thing here. Remember how we had some difficulties during the 10-year episode about what this podcast used to sound like?
Oh, you want to do some nostalgia?
I want to do just a little bit of nostalgia before we get into today's show.
See if we all remember this tune.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Social Media Security Podcast, helping expose the risks of social media.
Who was that guy?
Today, I don't know. Are Tom Eston, Scott Wright.
Fired him.
And
sounds very 80s. 80s sound.
This is actually episode 2.
Here's episode 2 for September 2009.
Oh. And what was the topic?
You'll find out in a second.
Thanks for joining us for the second episode of the definitive Social Media Security Podcast. Why don't we start by
Venus flytrap
from last show?
Yeah, I got some good feedback. There was 2 people actually that sent me an email.
2 people commented. They're like,
saying how they liked the content and the formats. Okay. And they were hoping, they were looking for the next episode was. So good. We had about.
You sound younger, Tom.
Last I checked the stats, I think we had over 130 some downloads. So
130 downloads.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I think maybe what we'll do right now.
We must have doubled since then.
More than double. Now we're close to 1,000 downloads. So
all right,
per episode.
Good job.
But yeah, we've definitely gotten bigger.
This should be a feature. This should be a feature now that we've got almost 100 episodes. Every episode we should just play a little clip from one of our old episodes just for
that's not a bad idea. In fact, you had asked about the topic of episode 2. Well, it was the month of Facebook bugs. So that was that project that I was involved with way back in the day, exposing a lot of vulnerabilities in Facebook applications. And then a discussion about what cross-site scripting is, a very common web application vulnerability. And then you had discussed a recent Canadian privacy ruling. I think that was the privacy commissioners.
Oh yeah, or they slapped down Facebook.
Yeah, I know, because you Canadians take privacy seriously up there.
We take it very seriously. That's right.
So just a bit of,
man, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
We were much more technology focused.
We were
in those days.
We were. It was very much like a technical show in a lot of ways. Yeah. We've expanded our reach.
But times change.
They do. So, okay,
right.
With that.
So what do we got on the agenda?
Yeah. So, did you hear the news that Amazon has released a bunch of new products? A bunch of Alexa, Amazon Echo products. In fact,
I heard they're using. Oh no! What's his name? Snakes on a Plane. What's his name?
Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel Jackson.
Yes.
His voice is going into Alexa.
Yeah. I think that's actually really cool.
I think it is too.
I would use that, to be honest. We'll see. But I'm a big Samuel L. Jackson fan, so I think I would do that. But
I think I would prefer William Shatner as a Canadian. But
yeah. Well, do you remember the Microsoft HoloLens, the Google Glass, which was an epic fail? I mean, we talked about that on the podcast.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Yep.
I thought it was funny that, in Silicon Valley, there was bars and restaurants that were putting signs up saying, if you're wearing Google Glass, you can't come in or you have to take them off because the Google Glass would start recording, everybody.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some privacy concerns with that, walking around with a camera that people may or may not know that.
Wouldn't be allowed at all in Canada.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Bad in Canada. But well, that was a failure. Even Google kind of admitted that it wasn't ready quite for mainstream, so you can no longer purchase that. So now, and then Snapchat. Do you remember the Snapchat goggles that kind of did the same thing? They would take pictures and then upload them right to Snapchat. Yeah, kind of similar.
What episode was that in?
I think we just briefly mentioned it, but so that, again, didn't really catch on. But now Amazon has their own, but this time it doesn't record. It is just another interface for you to call your Amazon Echo, right? Hey, Alexa, ask it a question. And it has speakers built into the glasses, which is a little different. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. The thing that for me, and if we'll have a link to the article in the show notes, because they've released all kinds of new products around Amazon Echo, including a ring. So they have it's called Echo Loop, where you can wear a ring now and then speak to your ring, and then get information from it.
Tom is on the move.
Yeah, the ring, it seems like kind of a dumb idea personally. I don't know, but then again, we all thought that smartwatches was a stupid idea too. Remember that, like back in the day, we're like, why would I want to talk to my watch? And now you walk down the street and you see everybody talking to their Apple Watch. So I mean, I don't know. The ring may actually take off. Who knows? But But anyway, but I bring this up too because as we talked about on the podcast and I talk about on the weekly show, Amazon and Google and all these companies that have the voice assistants, they have a lot of issues with privacy concerns, right? And how the recordings are stored, third-party contractors listening to, in regards to improving their products, right? They have people that
lawful access.
Yes, those types of things. So, this is just another interface for people to use the product. And it's still something that you need to be concerned with, that, reading and understanding the privacy policies and where your data is going. It may be cool to listen and talk to Alexa through your glasses, but the privacy concerns just have not changed. They're still there.
Yep.
So
it's just a distraction. Pay no attention to the to the Alexa. It's the new glasses.
That's right. So
nice.
Yeah. So it's cool stuff. And then we'll of course link that in the show notes. They've got all kinds of new products. And if too, Amazon owns Ring. So Ring cameras, very popular. We've talked about them on the show. In fact, if you're interested in learning more about surveillance cameras and anything home security related, we did a great episode with a friend of mine, Patrick McNeil, who knows everything about physical security in that space. And we talk a lot about Ring cameras.
Yeah. Did we ever cover sort of the new move to integrate Ring with police systems?
I have mentioned
for neighborhood watch kind of stuff.
I've mentioned that on the weekly show, but no, we have not talked about that. That would be a good topic though, because there's a lot of interesting things going on with surveillance and how police want to gain access to your camera's recordings if there was an issue. In fact, I read an article saying that Amazon actually wanted to have some kind of interaction, like if you dialed 911 from your home, that it would automatically start recording your Ring, and there would be some interface to the police with the recording.
Interesting.
So a little freaky there. I think that's
that's so deep. I'm not even sure
I know, right?
How to respond.
So sci-fi, isn't it? Like
it is,
like something out of Minority Report, the movie with Tom Cruise of
the
precogs and pre-crime. Yeah. I know.
Yeah. It's coming.
Yep, it is. So do you have any of those web keys, Scott? You got any of them web keys?
I cannot confirm nor deny if I have any web keys.
Well, what are web keys, Scott?
I came across this just a couple of weeks ago when our good friend Rebecca Harold tagged Tom and I in a post on Twitter where she had discovered something, I think, submitted to her. And it was, the story went along the lines of a person found this device, or it was actually a card or something, just a marketing card at a conference that was slid under every door of every person in their the hotel, I guess. And it would just look like a marketing card, but at the top it had a little sort of I don't know what you would call it, a connector, or something that I don't know if you broke it off or just somehow stuck it in directly, but it would work in a computer in your USB slot. And at first glance, it looked to me like it was just a USB, but turns out there are, I guess this special configuration has been sort of commercialized and probably has patents around it. I'm not certain, but and it is really primarily for marketing, I guess, but it could be used maliciously. And my first thought was, it could be sort of a version of a rubber ducky, which is, malicious intent really was to do keystroke input and, direct you to either go to a malicious website or to launch some kind of script internally on your computer that would bypass anti-malware software. So that was my first thought of it. I don't think that in that case at the conference it was necessarily that, but it certainly could be abused, right? That whole technology, really just by launching somebody to go to a malicious website and infect the computer or do something like that. That was my take on it.
Yeah, and the fact that they're designed to just open up a link, right? As soon as you plug it in, thinking about, wasn't there something with like President Trump and some the Korea
the fans at the
no
when they went the summit in Korea and they were handing out those little portable USB fans.
That's right. Yeah. And everyone was laughing of like, ha ha ha, ha, you probably shouldn't plug that into your computer. Anybody it's just funny how, I guess we think about, I probably shouldn't plug that into my computer. And at a security conference, when these are handed out, there's, I think, a lot of scrutiny given to vendors that, like, you guys, like, we try to teach people not to plug things like that, especially from untrusted sources. But a lot of times vendors just assume that they're trusted. But as we've seen in the past many of these devices are manufactured in China. Yeah. I'm just saying.
You're just saying.
Supply chain attacks. Hello. I mean, it is definitely quite possible. So I think people need to be more aware that, Webkey, USB, rubber ducky, don't plug that in, right? I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, I was just trying to find my response to Rebecca's thing on Twitter, where it was my very first impression in terms of what I thought this thing could be. And, there were a few different use cases from an attacker point of view, but thinking about it at a conference, I mean, I think they said it was an IT conference, like an IT professionals conference. So you'd think that they would be a little bit, knowledgeable. Right. And so I thought whoever did this at an IT conference either was totally clueless or they were trying to do something malicious, right? So it wasn't really a well thought out marketing initiative.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
And I think I have your tweet pulled up here, and you said, I think there's a couple of scenarios. Most likely a legitimate but clueless company that has more money than its marketing department knows what to do with. Even the marketing message seems lame.
That's right. Yeah, if you look at the card, you should put the link to the.
I will. The tweet we'll have the link in the show notes. Unfortunately, I can't screen share on Get Vocal, but it's like a plastic card, and it says some things belong in the 1980s. Your law firm technology doesn't. And it says, insert this Webkey into your computer's USB drive to see how your firm can get back to the future.
Well, that's telling.
I think there's some copyright infringement there with the Back to the Future.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Anyway, it was probably well-intentioned. But,
yeah, of course.
But do be careful if you come across, what looks like marketing literature with a little connector on the side of it. unless you're absolutely certain it's from somebody that you want to hear from,
Right.
I would not put it in a device.
Exactly. And now a word from our sponsor, Edgewise Networks. The biggest problem in security that remains unsolved is unprotected attack paths that allow threats to compromise vulnerable targets in the cloud and data center. But traditional microsegmentation is too complex and time-consuming and offers limited value that's hard to measure. But there's a better approach, Edgewise Zero Trust Auto Segmentation. Edgewise is impossibly simple microsegmentation, delivering results immediately with a security outcome that's provable and management that's zero touch. At the core of Edgewise auto segmentation is Zero Trust Identity, which automatically builds unique identities for all communicating software and devices by combining cryptographic properties of the workload with risk classifications. Edgewise protects any application in any environment without any architectural changes. Edgewise provides measurable improvement by quantifying attack path risk reduction and demonstrates isolation between critical services so that your applications can't be breached. Visit edgewise.net to find out more about how Edgewise can help stop data breaches. So how many of you, maybe this is a question to our listeners, but how many of you actually wipe and erase the hard drives on computers that you sell, like say on eBay, or you give to a friend or family member, or your mobile phone when you...
Or if you're about to throw out a device
Right.
that has storage on it, what do you do with it?
Right, exactly. I think we all know, especially if you're listening to this podcast, we're going to say you should securely wipe those devices and erase everything. But there was a study that was done recently that said, and the headline was 3 in 5 secondhand hard drives still contain previous owners' data. And they had come up with this statistic that 59% of those hard drives sold on marketplaces like eBay, as an example, are not wiped, and they contain all the data from their previous owners. So what do you think of that, Scott? Surprised? Not surprised?
I'm actually not that surprised. In my opinion, as a vendor, if I was selling this kind of stuff, I would try to make it somewhat easy, in terms of the process. I wouldn't say it should be dead simple because you might accidentally delete stuff, but it should be relatively straightforward to find a way to delete things off your devices. And I was telling Tom earlier, I had a lot of trouble. I was trying to wipe my old BlackBerry, and when I looked up online how to wipe a BlackBerry that you've been locked out of, because I'd forgotten my password and I didn't need it anymore, I just wanted to reuse it. And I tried to, the only way you could wipe it was to enter the wrong passcode 10 times, and then it would wipe if the setting was on, and which I had. But what I found was after 6 tries, it stopped incrementing the counter. So I just kept entering wrong passwords, and it just kept saying six incorrect tries, six incorrect tries. So I'm going like, that's kind of weird. The other thing I found in my basement one time, just a week ago, was an old BlackBerry where I tried to put a drill through the center of it, and it wouldn't go. I don't know what it's made of, titanium or something, but I couldn't drill through their BlackBerry.
Do you have a sledgehammer? Maybe could you try that?
I think I'd have to, or maybe I'll call Hillary Clinton and see what I should do with them.
Ouch.
Ooh. And it also reminds me of Silicon Valley. Did you see the episode where is it Dinesh, the guy that he had a drive with all their code or something on it, right? And he accidentally sold it, or they had an auction and somebody accidentally sold his drive to some random guy, and they located who it was, but the other guy, what's his name, Guilfoyle, just walked in with a drill and drilled through the hard drive. He was pretending to be like a Geek Squad.
Yeah. I need to watch that show. I watched
it's pretty funny. You have to be tolerant of some language, but otherwise it's good.
Nice.
As a startup founder, I find it pretty close to the mark.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Yeah. my take is it's really not that difficult either to wipe your hard drive and erase it. I think
in most cases.
in most cases, you could debate. And there's an article we'll link in the show notes of if you're interested to know how do you delete or wipe your hard drive, and resetting, say, your mobile phone, your Android or your iOS device back.
Flash drives,
all those things.
and
yeah,
camera drives, things like that.
SD cards. That's another one. And another common mistake people make, I think, is if they sell a camera or something that uses an SD card, sometimes they leave the card in there, thinking that maybe they've wiped it or they've copied everything off to their computer, and the card is still in there.
And there was a story probably 5-6 years ago, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's still a problem, but printers, anything that does scanning, consumer devices that do scanning probably have memory in them. And I think at the story we covered in one of our episodes, somebody discovered that, certain brands had persistent memory that had a copy of everything that was ever scanned on the device.
Yeah.
So you pick it up out of the secondhand store or Army surplus or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's got
printers are an interesting one because there's not a lot of information out there that tells you how do you erase your printer in the printer memory.
In some cases, I don't think you can.
In some cases you can't.
Pretty much destroy it. Yeah,
exactly. So
have a bonfire.
Yeah. Or like the scene in Office Space, right, where they take the printer out to the field. The PC load letter, remember the guy?
I don't think I heard that.
Oh, you've never seen Office Space?
No,
seriously?
Oh, I might have a long time ago, but I don't remember that scene.
Watch Office Space. It's actually like if you work in any type of business or office setting, it's like a yearly requirement that you should rewatch Office Space because, and that movie was made in like the early 90s, so. It's just amazing to me how nothing has changed in office culture in all those years. It's like exactly the same. So check out that movie. But yeah, if you want to see a printer get completely destroyed in a comical way, recommend watching that scene.
I do. I think I'll do that this weekend.
There you go. See, I've given you movie choices for the weekend. My job is done.
Awesome. All right, what's next?
I have nothing else.
Oh, come on. We talked about web keys. We talked about hard drive reuse. We talked about Alexa.
Oh, I know.
I
know what I want to talk about. What's the update on ClickArmor? How are things going?
ClickArmor. It's. I'm glad you asked. Things have gone pretty well over the summer. We've been doing beta. We've got our first paying customer.
Hey,
and hoping to get another one or two in the next month. But and we're going for some financing, so it's a lot of activity. But we're actually pretty excited because we're getting really good response. And what ClickArmor is it's a gamified learning for security awareness. If you haven't heard me ramble on about this before, I'll give you a 20-second pitch, but basically you're familiar with all the security awareness training that exists right now, compliance training, I call it, because really most cases it's required either by policies or by regulatory compliance. And all it means is, the company has to put something in front of you that has the text that describes the rules, the things you need to do or don't do, policies to follow. And many organizations they do that. People click through it and then they do quizzes. And if they pass the quiz, they're done for a year, right? And of course, that's going to protect your team from most security threats. Well, not really. We know that the threats evolve, and on a monthly basis, we find new stuff, right? So what we're actually putting together is a gamification platform that provides sort of monthly program content where you get people to play games to learn about things like phishing, social engineering, acceptable use policies, in a pretty fun environment where we teach you about the terminology, get you to exercise some stuff, and then you do some tests at the end where you get scored. And of course, you're on a leaderboard. And there's a lot of fun aspects to this from a gamification point of view. So we're getting some good response, and I think it's going to be really fun to see how people react to this stuff. And we're going to start a community version of it where people will be able to, everybody can just sort of go in, maybe not randomly or at will, but we'll be able to put people on for free, and you can play the game, compare your scores with other people that have tried
cool.
it. So that'll be our next step pretty soon. So if you want to learn anything more about it, definitely reach out through the contact at the podcast here, or contact at clickarmor.ca. So that's our URL.
That's great.
So yeah, I keep promising I'm going to do a live demo, but we got our issues with Get Vocal. I tried to do it when we had Patrick on. No. We couldn't get to sort of a screen share demo.
I have given Get Vocal feedback about it would be great to have a screen sharing option in this.
Yeah, like why not?
But you know, we'll see. And I love everything else about Get Vocal because I think it's an awesome platform. But yeah, and Gabe in the chat says that they are working on it, so that's good.
Very nice. Yeah. And so, yeah, maybe we'll have a Click Armor competition, during one of our episodes and get it going.
Yeah, I think it'd be good too. If we could do a demo or, show, what you guys have been working on. It'd be really cool. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're trying to do controlled pilots. Obviously we can't scale up and find a big problem with a bit large scale customers. So we're looking for smaller pilots and engagements where we can do 10, 20, 50 people at a time and make sure that we've got all the bugs ironed out before we do a big launch.
It's great. And it's not restricted to just Canadians, right? U.S. citizens can
well, no, not necessarily. You may have to show extra ID if you're not Canadian.
Just like at the border, right? Yeah.
It's funny you should ask that because one of my visions for how we architect this is to have something called privacy profiles for different client organizations or for different campaigns. So what that means is that if you, for example, all you really want is to teach people about some topic in awareness and know that everybody passed, right? You don't really care who didn't do that well specifically. You just want to make sure that, things are going well. And maybe you're more concerned about the actual program, which parts of the program are weak or strong, and we'll be able to report on all that stuff. But if you don't need to know exactly who it is, then we can de-identify the content from the people. So there's a really sort of strong privacy angle that I want to put in there. Certainly in some cases, if you're trying to get phishing awareness and understand if people understand some of the most important aspects and people keep failing, then you might want to be able to identify them. So we'll, crank up the ability to see content from that point of view, but each different privacy level sort of has different implications for the organization in terms of what responsibilities you have for handling their privacy and personal information. So that's one of the roadmap features that we're looking
at. Cool. That's cool. Looking forward to hearing more about it. So
yeah. So with that, we're I guess we're out of
Didn't you have a quick story about your vacation that you wanted to bring up? You had a security related thing about your vacation at the beginning.
I think I did. I did, but I'm so old. I
forgot what it
was. Do you remember?
You had mentioned it, and then there it goes.
Oh man. Oh, well. Yeah, it's gone. Oh, maybe next time. Yeah. That's too bad.
Yeah, you'll remember as soon as we end the podcast. So that's how it always works.
I know.
All right.
Save it for next time.
All right. Well, we are out of here. So thank you again to all of our listeners.
And thanks, Gabe, and all the others that joined the
yes, much appreciated. And we'll be doing this again next month. But be sure to check out our weekly show, The Weekly Blaze, that's published every Monday. You can subscribe on sharedsecurity.net. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.